I look at my life. I've been blessed to come from being refugee in Guinea, refugee in Cote d'Ivoire, going to the U.S. on asylum, and coming back. I think about the 10-year-old Taa, right? That 10-year-old boy that I was when the war started, and the other future generation we have coming up. And I feel strongly that we have not done a lot in Liberia in terms of saving for the next generation. We have this thing where we like to spend. There are so many challenges we want to spend now. We are spending on roads, we're spending on education and those things. Those things are very critical. But when I visited some mines that have been exploited, extracted, the towns are ghost towns right now, like bomb mines in Liberia. And those folks are gone. Where's the money? Where is the money? What can we point to say this was what the money was used for?
Yeah, so, there's nothing to show for it, for all that wealth.
Right? So I believe the 50 years from now, when I'm no longer here, 100 years from now, a young child will benefit from this, or savings. And this is part of what we want to see, not only in Liberia, but across Africa. Because they're coming for our natural resources. They're coming for it.
Today, across the world, the strongest economy have one thing in common. They don't just extract their wealth, they store it, they grow it, they protect it for generations that haven't even been born yet. And that, my people, is why they survive crises. That's why they can fund world-class healthcare, world-class infrastructure, and world-class education without begging the IMF, without running into debt traps, and without panicking every time commodity prices fall. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Africa, the richest continent in natural resources, is the poorest in generational savings. We own 30% of the world's minerals, but we hold less than 2% of the world's sovereign wealth fund assets. We've had oil booms, mineral booms, timber booms, cocoa booms, but we have not had a savings boom. We have not had a future generations boom. And that right there is why our roads collapse, our currencies crumble, and our young people suffer every time the global market coughs. Because we're living from crisis to crisis, not from strategy to strategy. But today, something powerful is happening in Liberia. A new kind of conversation, a new kind of leadership, a shift from short-term survival toward long-term nation building. For the first time in Liberia's history, a bold attempt is being made to build a future generation's extractive savings fund. A real sovereign wealth fund that protects a portion of Liberia's natural resource revenues for children, grandchildren, and future Liberians who will inherit this country long after we're gone. And that initiative is being championed by someone you're going to meet today on the show. So today we're breaking it all down. What makes sovereign wealth funds so powerful? How have they helped small nations become global powerhouses? And why is Africa still lagging behind? And after this deep dive, I'm going to be joined by the man behind Liberia's new push for generational prosperity, member of House of Representatives Hon Taa Wongbe, to talk about his transformational bill and what it could mean for the future of Liberia. This is The Breakdown. So before we go any further, let's break this down, plain and simple. What exactly is a sovereign wealth fund? Think of it like this. A sovereign wealth fund is a country's savings and investment account, set aside to protect the nation when times get hard and to build wealth for future generations. It's not money for today's politics. It's not money to fix this year's budget. It's money that is saved, invested, and grown So your children and grandchildren aren't starting from zero. So think of it like a personal savings account. I'm sure we all have one. But instead of saving for ourselves, the government is saving for us as a nation, right? Simple terms. Now, most sovereign wealth funds come from natural resources like oil, gas, copper, diamonds, gold. So instead of spending every dollar from the ground today, countries put a portion aside, invest it internationally, and then sit back and watch it multiply. And here's why that matters. Commodity prices rise and fall. Governments will change. Crises will come out of nowhere. But a sovereign wealth fund creates stability. It creates discipline. It creates security, future security. And indeed, they have transformed nations. Let's break down a few examples. Hey, thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoy it, I want to invite you to join our family here at PanaGenius TV and be a part of conversations that are shaping the future. Subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell for alerts. And if you want to support our work and help us reach more people, you can drop a super thanks on this video or join our growing membership community. Thank you so much for your support. Let's get back to the show. So Norway took its oil money and built the largest sovereign wealth fund in the world, now worth over $1.6 trillion, and that's trillion with a T, yes. How exactly did they do it? Well, they discovered oil in the late 1960s. Around the same time, Nigeria also discovered oil. But instead of blowing the money on short-term politics, they made one decision that changed everything. This wealth belongs to every Norwegian, even those not born yet. So they saved it. And today, Norway's sovereign wealth fund is worth over $1.6 trillion. That's over $300,000 per citizen. It funds pensions, healthcare, education, and it shields the country from global shocks. Whether oil prices crash or rise, Norway doesn't panic. They've planned ahead. Next, Singapore. Singapore built two of the most successful funds globally, Temasek and GIC, to compensate for their lack of natural resources. Singapore was very smart and strategic. It has no oil, it has no gold, no minerals. But what they do have is discipline. Their two sovereign funds now manage over $1 trillion. And what do they invest in? Airports, tech companies, pharmaceuticals, logistics, real estate around the world. These funds literally built modern Singapore, funded infrastructure, stabilized the currency, and turned them into a global financial powerhouse. Next, UAE and Qatar. Dubai and Abu Dhabi understood early. Oil won't last forever. So they created massive sovereign funds investing in hotels, airlines, ports, sports teams, yes, renewable energy, tech companies, and so much more. Today, these investments generate billions outside of oil, securing their future long after the wells run dry. This is how you go from a desert economy to a global center of trade, tourism, finance, and diplomacy. The point is simple. Countries that save don't panic. Countries that save don't beg. Countries that save are able to plan generations ahead. So if sovereign wealth funds are the key to stability and generational prosperity, why is Africa, the richest continent in natural resources, the poorest when it comes to future savings? Let's look at the receipts. Africa owns 30% of the world's mineral reserves, 12% of global oil, 8% of the world's natural gas, the world's largest reserves of cobalt, platinum, gold, diamonds, and bauxite. But when it comes to sovereign wealth funds, Africa holds less than 2% of total global sovereign wealth fund assets. Let that sink in. We're rich in the ground, but poor in the bank. The numbers don't lie. Out of all 54 African countries, only about 30, I think the number is around 33, have sovereign wealth funds. Most are underfunded or inactive. only 5 have more than $2 billion in assets. Many rely on donor grants just to function. Several haven't even received new deposits in years. Meanwhile, Norway added over $100 billion to its fund in a single year. Abu Dhabi's fund earns hundreds of millions per day in investment income. Singapore's Temasek alone is worth more than every African SWF combined today. So what is Africa doing wrong? Well, 3 things. Number 1, short-term politics. Every government spends everything today, leaving nothing for tomorrow. Number 2, weak governance. Funds become political piggy banks, lack of transparency, no investment discipline. And number 3, overdependence on raw exports. We dig and ship out raw materials instead of adding value or building long-term savings. This is why African economies collapse when commodity prices fall, because there's no cushion, no safety net, no future fund. And this is costing the continent not just wealth today, but wealth tomorrow. When you don't have a sovereign wealth fund, this is what happens. Currency collapses, become national disasters. Governments run back to the IMF. Debt levels skyrocket. Youth unemployment worsens. Infrastructure plans get abandoned. Every crisis becomes a catastrophe. Sovereign wealth funds don't stop crises, but they stop crises from destroying a nation. So now let's talk about the opportunity. Africa's resource wealth could create funds worth trillions if managed well. And my people, the timing now couldn't be even more critical. Because this isn't just a good idea for Africa. Right now, today, it is a survival strategy. Africa is facing one of the most unpredictable economic moments in modern history. Currency devaluations everywhere, rising inflation, mounting debt crises, commodity price volatility, climate shocks destroying agriculture, youth populations growing faster than economies, and global lenders tightening their purse strings. If there was ever a time for Africa to build long-term savings, that time is now. And my people, here's a reality. For a long time, many African nations have been debating, delaying, or mismanaging their natural resource wealth. However, Liberia is taking a bold step forward. Hon Taa Wongbe, a member of Liberia's House of Representatives, has introduced the Liberia Future Generations Extractive Savings Fund bill. A bill that, if passed and protected, could reshape Liberia's and potentially Africa's economic future for generations. Because if Liberia gets this right, it can become a model for how Africa manages its resources, how African nations save for the future, how to empower local businesses, how to break the cycle of dependency and crisis, how to build systems that outlast political cycles. This bill represents a shift from survival thinking to generational thinking. And that is why today's conversation with him matters. Because now, my people, we get to hear directly from him, his vision, his hope, and why this movement is needed now more than ever. Okay, so Hon Taa Wongbe, welcome to The Breakdown. I'm so excited to have you here with us today.
It's amazing to be on. Thank you so much for having me, Sandra.
So you just mentioned that you're actually in Nigeria for a conference. So tell us about it. And I want to hear, how are things on the ground in Nigeria right now with the recent security emergency that was declared in the nation?
Thank you so much again for having me. And in fact, we did talk about this today. I was on some interviews discussing this. So I'm here for the ECOWAS Parliament. I'm a member of the ECOWAS delegation from Liberia, representing Liberia on the Parliament. And we're here for our second ordinary sitting. We have about 4 sittings a year, 2 extraordinary sittings, and then 2 ordinary sittings. I'm here for this one. which is the ordinary sitting, is the last one before the year ends. And we're here to discuss our budget. We're here to discuss some national issue, including Guinea-Bissau. We're discussing, celebration of ECOWAS at 50 and ECOWAS Parliament at 25. We're also discussing other issues, including the challenges in Nigeria, which is the security challenge you mentioned. But from what I can see so far, this is calm. I mean, we just discussed this in Chambers today, where a colleague from Guinea brought this up, and the Deputy Senate President of the Republic of Nigeria, who is also the first Deputy Speaker of the House of Parliament for ECOWAS, he took the reins to discuss some of the challenges, but also talked about the fact that these are packets of individuals, and as soon as President Trump brought those things up, in fact, some of those bandits decided to go and do things so that it can bring more light to the situation. We heard it firsthand from a government official today. We all express concerns. Yes, there are challenges. Like many other countries, there are challenges in countries, and we don't want to see anyone die. Not Christian, not Muslim, not anyone from any denomination die, any religion background die. But we also know that the government of Nigeria, they are working tirelessly to resolve this issue. So again, we are hopeful. President Tinubu has been on the pause to move this forward. So we're excited about that, but we're also looking forward to a permanent resolution to the issue.
That's great. And, I think what you mentioned is so important, that basically after what Trump did, the problem has been even, aggravated, right? And people are taking advantage of it. And that's one side of the puzzle that a lot of people don't consider. I'm curious to hear what support specifically the ECOWAS is planning to provide to Nigeria in this fight, because this is a big fight. It's a big challenge that Nigeria is dealing with right now. So from a continental standpoint, a regional standpoint with ECOWAS, how do you envision what support and collaboration could look like in this moment to help Nigeria tackle this challenge? So
it has not been looked at as on a regional level as a challenge that could be escalated to ECOWAS yet. This is part of the debate. We are going to receive the country report this week. We're doing country reports. So every country, as part of the community, will be reporting, including on security. Once that is reported, we will then go deeper into it and discuss some of the ways that we could be able to address the matter. But currently, as far as we're concerned, we're hearing discussions online, on some news networks, and with the president taking the stance, but it has not been brought to the community as of yet. So that is something we're looking forward to within the Nigeria report. Then we can be able to discuss it further. And I must say to you, Sandra, last year when we had the challenges in Liberia with the House of Representatives, we had that in our country report. Once we had it in our country report, it got escalated. The Senate delegation, ECOWAS Senate delegation, to help to resolve these matters. So Guinea-Bissau, for example, is on a different level, which is it triggered because it's a coup, right? And so the community immediately has to get involved with that. But with this situation, it's mainly country-based. So we cannot intervene from our community right now until we hear from the country and we listen to their country report.
Got it. Thank you so much for shedding light on that. Now, I wish we had more time to go into Guinea-Bissau and other things happening on the continent, but let's focus on why you're here today, right? And before we get into the policy or the bill that you've introduced, I want to start with you, right? Because bills like this, they don't just appear out of nowhere. They usually come from a place of deep personal connection, right? So for people who may not know your story, tell us a bit about your background, where you grew up, the experiences that have shaped you, and what ultimately led you to public service.
Thank you so much. This is something that is near and dear to my heart because I feel called to this space. This is not something I take lightly. I'm a Christian. I believe God has done a lot of good things in my life, amazing things in my life, and He has called me into this space. I was born in Nimba, where I serve now as a representative. And so I was born there, but I was raised mostly with my mom. And
Mhm.
I was 10 when the war started, and we had to go to Guinea to become
Now,
refugees. We also,
for our viewers who may not know where Nimba is, that's Liberia, right?
yes,
Liberia.
Nimba County,
Hmm.
Liberia. So I was born
Liberia.
in Nimba County,
Yes.
Liberia. In fact, I was born where this place called Yekepa, where we have the mines. So the biggest mine
Mm.
in operation for iron ore is where I was born, and my father was personnel director at the time. I always tell
Wow. So
people
you're a
that
mining baby.
yeah, but it was short lived because I when I was born I was 1 year old when the coup happened. And when the coup happened,
Mm.
a lot of folks went to jail, including my father, lost everything. We didn't have a lot. My father grew up, by the way, reading the Bible. That's how he learned how to read and write. So
Mm.
he didn't go to school until he was 15 years old. My mother was a village girl who pulled herself up, went to secretariat school, and then ultimately became, secretary to the deputy bank governor. They didn't have a lot, but they believe in education. So they sent us to the
Mm.
best schools. They sent us to the best of schools. I always tell people I grew up in two separate worlds, Sandra, the world of the haves and the world of the have not. Because going to the best of schools, I went to schools with ambassadors, kids, people who had it, send the kids to the best schools. We didn't have it, but my father made sure that education was important, so they invested in that, right? A lot. So we came back home to play with children in the yard in the community where they didn't have. So, but I always felt connected to both
Mm.
spaces, but mostly to the have not. And this is why I tell some friends of mine that I can be in the boardroom in New York and can communicate, and I can also be in the
Mm.
village
Mm.
talking to market women because I too once sold in the streets of Liberia. I too once sold, kerosene. I sold grains. I sold
Wow. Oh,
coal.
me too.
Um, yeah, those are our experiences, and it's a humble
Yes,
experience, but
it's
I'm
real.
thankful to God for what He has done for me, what He has done for my life, and the transition that has happened. I went to the U.S., got in corporate,
Hmm.
started my corporate journey. I also started my entrepreneurship journey in the U.S. Sold
Tell
my
us more
first
about what
company.
you did here in the U.S. Tell us more about your entrepreneurship journey and what you were doing here in the U.S. before you moved back to Liberia.
So in the US, I started in technology. So I was a network engineer. Then I moved to be more of an IT solutions provider, solutions person. And then it was IT and management consulting. Worked for organizations like Deloitte and Touche, McKinsey,
Mm.
worked at Gartner and other big firms providing solutions to organizations. And then we sold our first company, started a company called the Canon Group. That's my second company that started, and that was focused more on Africa because I had this calling for Africa. We all did in New York. You remember those days?
Yes,
Come
we
back
did.
home,
Yes.
diaspora. Come back home. Come back home. Went to those conferences, and my father, by the way, always told me the U.S. is not your home. The U.S. is not your
Mm.
home. You can make so much in the U.S. You can do whatever you want to do as in the U.S., but you have to come back home to Africa. You got to come back home to Liberia, and that is what was my calling. But at the same time, in the US solidified that structural experience, right? Those experiences where
Mm. Hmm.
those
Hmm.
structural experiences, you have working in structural environment, you have this discipline of going to work. You have the discipline of connecting with professionals and working with the best of the best. And so
Yeah.
you come back home to try to bring some of that home.
Yeah, and it really, you learn a lot from it, and it shapes your experience, right? And especially when you
It,
visit Africa, you have 1,000,010 ideas of what needs to be different, what could be better, what could improve, right? So, upon returning to Liberia and getting into public service, was it what you expected, or have there been any surprises?
big surprise. And
Big
I hope
surprise.
one day we can have another conversation, Sandra, about the pain of the
Mm,
returnee, the price of the return. We don't talk about that a lot, about the price of the
yeah.
return, those who are in the diaspora returning home. I am one of the few members of the diaspora that have returned home and got into public service to win an election in Liberia. Very few of us
Hmm.
in our age group have done that, and I'm grateful for the
Yeah.
opportunity to serve. But one thing I realized quickly is not about disappointments, but it's about mindset shift. Because a lot of times we
Mm,
come to Africa and we come back home thinking, oh, we do this in the US. Oh, we do this in the US, it should work, right? We have this mindset of how things should
yeah.
work
Yeah.
because we see it work over there. And I always try to temper friends and colleagues and tell them we need to adjust. Cultural context is important. And we are adjusting and we are learning and we are understanding some of the root causes and we're
Hmm.
understanding how we can navigate those root causes.
Yeah. No, that's a great point. A friend of mine once said that you cannot live and expect to thrive in Africa with a foreign mindset, with an American mindset if you're from the US. You really
That's
have
it.
to adapt to a local mindset. So yeah, no, we will have another conversation just on that
Yeah.
experience. Now, before we get into the bill that you've introduced, right? Help us understand from a macro level the problem that you're trying to address, right? At what moment or experience first made you realize that Liberia needed a long-term savings plan, something that protects future generations? Talk us through how you got to this point of putting this bill on the floor.
I look at my life. I've been blessed to come from being refugee in Guinea, refugee in Cote d'Ivoire, going to the US on asylum and coming
Mm,
back. I think about the 10-year-old Thai, right?
mm,
That 10-year-old boy that I was when the war started, and the other future generation we have coming up. And I feel strongly that we have not done a lot in Liberia in terms of saving for the next generation. We have this thing where we like to spend. There are so many challenges we want to spend now. We are spending on roads, we're spending on education and those things. Those things are very critical. But when I visited some mines that have been exploited, extracted, the towns are ghost towns right now, like bomb mines in
mm,
Liberia. Um, and those folks are gone. Where's the money?
mm.
Where is the money? What can we point to say this was what the money was used for?
Yeah,
So
there's nothing to show for it, for all
nothing to
that
show
wealth.
for it, right? So I believe the 50 years from now, when I'm no longer here, 100 years from now, a young child will benefit from this, or savings. And this is part of what we want to see, not only in Liberia, but across Africa, because
Yeah.
they're coming for our natural resources. They're coming for it. They're grabbing it and they're leaving.
Hmm.
When it's done, they don't care anymore. But we need to put some aside for our future. And that what struck
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm glad that you bring up Africa, right? Because the numbers are just it's shocking, right? To say the least. Africa owns nearly 30% of the world's minerals, right? But it accounts for less than 2% of global sovereign wealth fund assets right now. Less than 2%.
Yes.
Currently, over about 30 African countries even have a sovereign wealth funds out of the 54 countries. Okay. And most are small, inactive, or undercapitalized. Yet we've seen many nations with far less resources build trillion-dollar funds and change their development trajectory, right? So how do you really explain this gap, and what structural or political barriers have kept Africa from doing the same, from learning from Norway, from, the UAE and other people who have done this, shown us, giving us a model and a blueprint for how transformative this could be?
So, and this is part of the reason for this, right? I even see Ghana,
Yeah.
where I am right now in Nigeria, right? We have these natural resources, oil, potential for oil. We have rubber, gold, ore, fertile lands, all of these things, right? Nigeria and Ghana and others, they're not better in terms of more resourceful than we are. So we need to be able to look at how we can support the structural future of the next generation. So when you look at Botswana, we're in Botswana, and I was sharing this with you. I said, we're going to have this conversation, right? Look at Botswana, what they've done with the Pula Funds. Again, not perfect, but it started something, right?
Yeah.
In Norway, you see UAE, you see other nations, you also see Libya, Ethiopia.
Yeah.
They've done it, right? And they're doing it. So we need to legislate this. This is why I brought this. It's not just something where it is is some sort of declaration. No. It's a legislature that you legislate this, you put it in the bill is law, right? That it cannot be changed. So no regime is just going to come in and sort of say, you know what, let's remove this, let's move this out, let's reduce this, let's take the money out. It's not going to happen.
Now, I'm definitely going to come back and push you on that a little bit, right? But walk us through the structure of your proposal, the bill, right, that you've introduced. How will this fund actually work in practice? What does your proposal say? What must happen for this to work in the way that you have envisioned? And I'm curious if there were any existing models, right, that you looked at, that you kind of put your proposal, your bill, that you kind of mirrored, right, as you were putting together your proposal.
Yes, definitely. I looked at Botswana, obviously. I looked at Ghana. Ghana did more on the oil side, so they have two different segments that they did it with. I looked at Norway. I looked at Ethiopia. I looked at Libya. I looked at a few different models, and then drew from those, and then knew that with us, there's this saying, we cannot eat our tomorrow today in Liberia, right? Don't eat your tomorrow today. That's how we Liberians say it. Yeah. So if you legislate this and it's a bill, it's something that passes, what happens is we're asking for 10% of all, fees for royalties, haulage fees, concession deals, to put that aside, and it will be invested in the international markets. But there will be structural ways in which you could withdraw from it. So we have, 70, 30%, which is, global standard in terms of what you can touch. And it has to be under certain economic conditions, and certain GDP ratios have to be met. So we sort of structure it in a way that before you actually even try to touch it, you must meet certain conditions, right? And those conditions must be met. And then you have to go through the legislature to get it ratified. And you can only pull out a certain amount from the fund. So those are some of the ways how we have safeguarded the fund. But imagine right now we have something on the floor wherein Hon Taa, a major iron ore company, is coming in, is giving $200 million towards bonus for extending the MDA, the Mineral Development Agreement. And we are saying, okay, great. But can we put 10% of that aside?
Right.
Imagine. Right? If we put 10% aside every year, roughly we receive between 80 to 150 million a year. in royalties and other payments. That's a lot of money we'll be saving for the future generation when it's invested in the international market. And we'll create that culture of savings. It's a life insurance policy, if you will, in case anything happens. So this is something that we believe that is going to be good for the country. It's not good for Taa. It's not just, it's good for the nation, right? It's a nation thing for the young people, for the unborn children. Yeah.
I mean, the picture that you paint, it looks like this would be a game changer, right? It would be a game changer, being able to put 10% of your revenue aside for strategic investments or, for future generations. So is this 10% of the government's total revenue, or is it just revenue from certain sectors, like the extractive sectors? Where's the what makes up the revenue that the 10% will be coming from?
Royalties on extractive sector.
Okay.
So royalties, heritage fees. There's something new called heritage fees. So we have a concession deal before us that ore from Guinea should be transported through Liberia on our rails. And so it's a transport concession. And we're saying 10% of that heritage fee should also go towards this, right? So we're not saying the revenues. I mean, that's too big. We're saying only this sector. And I believe this is something that we can do. It's something that we can do. And in fact, in our mineral laws, with the oil law, when we find oil, the revenues should go towards the consolidated account. That again could be 10% could go from there. Imagine tomorrow Liberia hits oil and there is no fund to save for the future generation. And so we'll be back in this period of spending, boom, excitement, spending, boom, excitement, and then things draw down and we're back to square one. So I believe this is important for us to have. And my colleagues are excited. I'm excited that they are excited.
Now, how would management work, right? So who actually manages this, and what mechanisms are in place for oversight? What safeguards are in place, right? Can you talk a bit more about that, the framework around the management and implementation and oversight of the fund?
So the first thing is that it will be managed by a professional body. That'll be appointed by the president, including the person who runs the CEO, the head of that. But that appointment comes with certain requirements, right? You must meet certain requirements. That's actually within the bill. So we want that to happen. The second thing is we have a board. That board includes Central Bank, Minister of Finance, and others, including civil society, by the way, included in that metrics. We want to ensure that also from a management standpoint, we're doing local and international audits. So we have a General Auditing Commission, GAC, that will be auditing this branch every single year. And we'll have an international body, for example, PwC, KPMG, and other firm, Deloitte, and others that could be auditing this, right? It will be transparent. All the funding will be transparently provided to all citizens that want to see the data and where we're investing. And that is some of the oversight, if you will. Safeguards, as I said, in terms of ensuring that a president doesn't come in and say, hey, you know what? We need some money to pump our national budget to pay for our salaries. That will not happen under this, right? We have to safeguard it. So economic conditions must be met. We have to legislate it, go back to the legislature. Good. So there are all of these things that must happen before you can go. And by the way, even if you do that, only about 30% of the fund you can be able to touch. So you cannot touch below more than that. So it helps to safeguard 70% of the fund.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen a lot of really great ideas and great policies, right, come out of the continent. And let's be honest that many a times where they fail is in the implementation, right? Or as we're discussing it, they get caught up in corruption and scandals and all sorts of things. And I'm sure people who are watching are really want to know, how is this going to be different, right? Honorable, how are you going to ensure that 2-3 years from now, this doesn't end up getting tangled in that corruption, in the scandals that we're so tired about hearing about? Because this is a great vision, right? And we're so glad to see you put this forward. But how are you going to ensure that it actually delivers on its promise?
So thank you. That promise is not only on me, it's on everyone to see the future of our country become successful. I don't think the young people will take lightly to anyone touching the money. I don't think the mothers who I'm talking to say this is going to protect for your children, for your children's children, for your children's children, will take lightly to see this being entangled in any sort of corruption. And now we know what Gen Zs can do. We know what the new generation can do.
Yes,
We know that, right? So
they are finding their power.
Exactly. So from a bill itself, the bill is strengthened through all the different mechanisms I've shared, right? Ensuring we have a board, ensuring independence in terms of audits, ensuring that you cannot touch it unless it's being legislated, ensuring that certain economic conditions are met. And all of these things are things we can only do but so much in terms of the bill, right? And what the protections should look like. However, we also want to make sure that we have the citizens backing on this. And this is why we're taking it to the citizens. We're talking to the citizens. My colleagues are excited about this because this is for the future generation. This is why it's called the future generation. Bill is a bill for the young people. I was in the restaurant the other day, and a young lady, MC Carol, who is one of the biggest entertainers and musicians in Liberia, she said, she came to introduce someone to me, and she said, "This is our Gen Z lawmaker."
I love it.
This is our Gen Z lawmaker. And I said, what?
Yeah.
So I think Africa needs another skill when it comes to our own metrics, when it comes to who is Gen Z, who is Gen X, and others.
Listen, just claim it, okay? If I were you, I would just claim it and walk away.
I claim it. But I think what she meant was someone who looks to the future of the young people.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm not alone in that. So many people are also part of that, and they look at the future, and those are the people who we believe will work hard to ensure that this doesn't get entangled. The country wants good for itself, by the way.
Yeah.
We have good intentions for the future. We know that the current president, the last time when I met with him about 3 weeks ago, he mentioned being in UAE, meeting with the crown prince, and how he mentioned sovereign wealth fund. Personally, to me, he said, "Look at those people; they have all this money in the fund." I said, "Mr. President, I'm putting a bill on the floor," and he said, "Oh, that's a good thing. We'll support it." So there.
Great.
Yeah, there are these things in terms of our future that this future administration, we all talk it, but let's live it. Let's do it. And again, am I living in a very, sort of like magical world and thinking that, utopia state? No, this is why we want to safeguard it. This is why we put so many things in the bill to protect us from ourselves.
That's critical.
So that is part of what we're doing.
That's critical. That's amazing. So what happens next, right? I mean, the bill is on the floor right now. I'm glad I've heard you say several times you have a lot of support. So what is needed to really move this across the finish line? Can you kind of explain the process, for now and for those who are really excited and want to know what happens and how they can help, right? Get this through the finish line. How can they, be a part of it?
Thank you. One, we're doing this. So this is probably, I want to say thank you for giving us this platform to share. I know you have an amazing reach, not only, obviously in the diaspora, but globally. And
Yeah.
we believe that, this will touch other nations to see and inspire them and to do the same in their countries. So for us, place the bill on the floor. It went into committee room, which is it got sent to Waste, Means and Finance, PAC, and other audit commission and other committees. Those investment committees, and those committees will take about 2 to 3 weeks, deliberate on it. If there are challenges, send it back. And we're working with them, lobbying with them, advocating, pushing, asking our colleagues to call their lawmakers. Their citizens to call their lawmaker and tell them to push them to, support the bill. But more importantly, most of our colleagues believe that this is a good thing, and I'm excited about that. So we want to see that move forward. And once it comes back, then once it passes in the House, it then goes to the Senate. It's sent to the Senate, and the Senate will deliberate on it just as we did. And then they will come back to us with any questions if there are. If there's no question, they'll pass it and send it to the president for signing. So this process can take anywhere from 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, to 6 months to a year. But we are excited, we remain steadfast, and we believe that this will be something that will pass because it is for the future, and we have to think about the future.
Yeah. That's incredible. I want to, before I let you go, right? And you mentioned this whole Gen Z thing, which, we were laughing about it, but there's a lot about leadership, a lot of conversations about leadership in Africa right now, right? And what leadership should look like and who should get an opportunity to lead, right? So I want to hear your thoughts on looking at Liberia today, looking at Africa today. What type of leadership is required in this moment for Africa to rise, for Africa to live to its potential?
That's an interesting question and a very loaded question, Sandra. But, last year I was going through some major reflection about me being in public service, which is different from private sector, about my why, questioning why I was even in that space, and I went back to my first video because I ran once, I lost in 2020. I ran in 2020, I lost. I decided I'm not going to go back to the diaspora, to the US and be there. And too many people from diaspora tend to do that. After they do run, they're not successful, they go back and they're not connected to the people. I decided that I would stay, build myself with the people, build relationships. And I went back to a video that I did, my launch video. And in that video, I said, the reason why people don't get involved in politics, the good people, the competent, the ones who have heart, is because they believe that politics is so messy, so nasty. So they don't want to smear their name, their reputation. So they stay away. When they're done, people who are not step in. People who are not afraid of those things, right? Some people who are incompetent, people who don't have the heart to say, listen, I'm just going to go and win. And they go and they get involved. And our country and nations across Africa become what it is today. I want to encourage everyone who has a heart for their country, heart, servant-based leadership, you have heart, to get involved in politics. Everyone who has heart, your heart bleeds when you see challenges in the various countries. Get involved. Don't shy away. You'll be amazed that other people like you. You'll be inspiring people like you. I got involved. I can tell you a lot of people saying, if Taa can do it, we can do it. Right? And yes, I may be the guinea pig coming from the US, coming from the diaspora, coming in. Sometimes it's very lonely. It's very challenging. That's why I said we're going to talk about the price of the return, perhaps one of these days. But I'm encouraging everyone who has any interest in seeing the country and the nation shift to a new dimension. I want to encourage you to definitely come back home. Or those who are already in countries, stay in country, get involved in politics, get involved in leadership. Don't allow anyone to tell you you don't belong in those spaces. Get involved. They will laugh at you. They will talk all kinds of things about you. They will challenge you. They would say all kinds of things. And you will get hurt. You will probably lose like I did. You lose more than election. Your credibility will be on the line. Your integrity will be on the line. That's the only way our countries can change. And I want to inspire everyone. If there's not anything you get from this interview, I want to encourage you, if you have a heart for your nation, get involved in leadership at the local level, whatever level, get involved. Get involved. Yes, I sincerely believe that, Sandra. It's not about academics. It's not about you went to this, you worked here. Yes, you have to have the experience, obviously. You have to have the know-how, the technical experiences and the education, all of those things. But if you're sitting on the sidelines and just saying, look at what they are doing, look at what they're doing, I tell people, don't complain without solutions. No complaint without solutions. In my office, that's the motto. Anyone comes to us with, oh, but I said, no. What is the solution for this? So please come join us. Thank you.
Wow, that's very heartfelt, right? And this is something that we talk a lot about on my show, as you know, and a lot of people want to come back, right? They want to contribute. Oftentimes the question is how? Where do I start? Is it even worth it, right? And then the point that you bring up about the sacrifices. It requires sacrifice, but this is what we need, really. This is what we need to build the Africa that we want to see. Our generation needs to be willing to make some sacrifices. And I think what you said about not pointing the finger from the sidewalk, right? Because we do that a lot. We can complain, we can write essays, we can do videos, criticizing. But what are we doing to become the change that we want to see, or to design the change that we want to see? So thank you so much. Is there anything that you want to, I know you have your parliamentary duties, so I do want to let you go. I feel like I've already taken up much of your time, but is there anything else that you want to say to our viewers before we conclude today?
I know many of your viewers are in the diaspora globally. So I just want to say to you, right? I've been where you are. I went to conferences before. I spoke at conferences. I listened in the crowd. I heard about the beautiful things that were happening in our various countries. And people say, Africa is open for business, or brain drain. Remember that? Brain drain.
Oh, yes. And another one of my favorites, Africa Rising. Africa is rising.
Africa Rising. We talked about these things.
Yeah.
Yes, not everyone's going to return home. But I want to inspire you today and to just dig deep into yourself and ask yourself if you belong where you are in the US or in Australia or Europe or wherever you are, in China, in Asia, wherever. Those solutions you have in those countries, you can bring that home. Don't be afraid. Don't allow anybody to tell you it's unsafe. If it's unsafe, there are ambassadors' kids going to schools in different countries. There are people who are working in the international community that are sending their children to those schools. People talk about healthcare. People are enduring that in these places. This is how we fix our country, because when you're there, you say, no, I don't want this to happen. I want to see change. Yeah. So let me invest in this space. If you're a doctor, for example, let me invest in the healthcare space. If you're a lawyer, you start to open a practice. If you're an educator, you open a school. I will encourage you, don't allow anybody to tell you Africa is unsafe, all of these challenges. Yes, we do have challenges. As I was sitting on this interview, you didn't even know this, but the lights went off.
Oh, wow. Well, let me just say, thank God the internet didn't go off.
Yeah, but the lights went off. But we're still here, so come.
Right,
I will end on this note. Some friends of mine called me when I was doing my first run. They called me to have a moment with me, a moment of, Taa, is everything okay? Why are you in the bush? You all around in the bushes. There were 6 of them. They called me to have an intervention. And is everything okay, Taa? You from New York and you are in the bushes. Are you afraid that somebody will do this, voodoo, this and that, all of these things?
Oh my God.
And they thought something was really going on with me. And I'm here today. I lost my first election. It was hard. It was really, really tough for me. I put myself back. God got me. Woke up, kept fighting, and we're here today. So I welcome you back home. Welcome back to Africa. Thank you so much.
What a great story and a great way to end. We have to continue, right? So you already know the next time you're in New York City, we're going to make this an in-person conversation and talk about your journey, returning home, everything you've learned, because I believe that will inspire so many people who are looking for their next chapter, right? And what that could look like as they play a role in Africa's future. So thank you so much for making time for this. This just goes to show how important this is for you. Again, I really appreciate it. And good luck with your conference, your summit in Nigeria. And good luck with the bill. We'll be following, monitoring the progress. And when it passes, you already know, you got to come back here and give us the update. So you promise?
Thank you so much.
Let us be the first to know.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your week.
Thank you.
So that's it for today's show. I hope you enjoyed the conversation. Thank you so much for watching. And if you enjoyed it, don't forget to like, drop a comment, to let me know your thoughts, and share our channel with someone who needs to be a part of this conversation. I'm Sandra Babu-Boateng, and until next time, take care.